I once had a professional association with the London cab. I was the Minister for Taxis, and in 1989 I decreed that by the year 2000 all London taxis should be accessible to wheelchairs. I think London was the first city in the world to have that requirement, and ever since then, I don't know, I've just kept an eye open for the London cab. Hello. Nowhere in particular, please.
Okay.
Off you go. In these lovely electric taxis known as LEVCs, you have the sound of silence. When they first came in, I was very excited, you know, emission-free vehicle and so on. But to my amazement, I discover that 125 years ago, there was the London Electrical Cab Company, which ran electric taxis. Unfortunately, they weren't a great success at the time, but my goodness, the anniversary is worth celebrating. So I'm Michael, what's your name?
Hello, Michael. My name's Ian. Lovely to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. Have you been driving taxis for long?
I've just passed my 10-year anniversary, actually. It was November 2012 when I got my green badge. So, yeah, just over 10 years.
Nothing but anniversaries today. 125 years of electric cabs and 10 years of Ian. What made you want to drive, Ian?
Lots of things, really. I'm from West Yorkshire originally. I'd always wanted to live in London. I moved down here in 2005, 2006, and I did a series of, you know, office jobs, bar work, that sort of thing. I'm also a musician and do bits of freelance writing, so I was looking for something that I could fit in around that. And I kept, you know, seeing London cabs, and I'd always loved them. And I thought, I could do that. And I thought, no, that's for proper London cabbies.
Sorry, why did you love them?
Just because I'd always loved everything London, really, and they're just such an icon of London, aren't they?
Doing the knowledge as a cabbie, that is a big undertaking. It's not for wimps, is it?
It certainly isn't, no. It took me 4 years. I was working full-time while I was doing it. Some people do it quicker. So you have to learn thousands and thousands, I mean potentially endless numbers, of what we call points of interest. The examiner will ask you to tell him where 2 points of interest are, first of all. So he might say, well, Buckingham Palace, and you'd say, that's in the Mall. Actually, I think the proper address is Constitution Hill. But anyway, then he'd give you another one, and you'd tell him where that was, and then you'd have to recite the most direct route.
That is extraordinarily difficult to recite it, to have it in your mind.
It is. I was quite shocked when I realised that was how it went. I assumed it would be based on, you know, you'd be out on the street actually doing dummy taxi runs. Although, of course, that would be very impractical to test people that way. So, yeah, you have to remember absolutely everything.
Shall I tell you a story, Ian?
Please do.
When I was the Minister for Taxis, there was worry that some of the minicabs might not be safe for passengers. So there was an idea that they should be licensed, which I was pursuing. But the taxi drivers didn't like this idea because they thought it would give minicabs more respectability and make them more competition. So one day I was in 10 Downing Street, minding my own business, as it were. I was crossing, you know, the main hallway, and suddenly the Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, rushed out like a trapdoor spider. And her constituency was Finchley, and she had a lot of taxi drivers who were her constituents. And she came out to me and she said, I understand from my taxi drivers that you're thinking of licensing minicabs. And I said, yes, Prime Minister, you know there's a concern. And I had my hand on the banister. I was just going up the stairs, and her hand came down on top of mine like that. She pinned me to the banister and she said, stop it. And that was the end of that policy. What do you think of that, Ian?
I have to say I'm quite impressed, Michael. Yeah, that's pretty good.
It shows the power of your local constituency, doesn't
Indeed.
it? The taxi drivers ruled in Finchley in those days. Ian, we're talking about 125 years of electric taxis. What do you think of this one?
It's absolutely lovely. They've done such a good job with it. It's the first taxi, as far as I'm aware, that the London Taxi Company, or LEVC as they're known now, have ever built that is a pleasure to sit in all day and to drive. But famously, the old Fairway that I was talking about loving, that was really uncomfortable to drive. You were very cramped up and it was really hot. There's no aircon or anything like that. These cabs, for the driver, are so comfortable. They're so smooth to drive. Absolutely lovely. I don't know anyone who drives one of these who doesn't love it. And of course, it's lovely in the back as well. My favourite feature, everyone's favourite feature, I think, is the panoramic observation dome that you've got above you there, which lets so much light in during the day, and it's great at night for looking up at the city lights.
Oh, it's just wonderful because to appreciate London, you have to be able to look towards the tops of buildings. And who have you had in the back of your cab?
I've had loads of people. I've got Michael Portillo for a start. Who else have I had celebrity-wise? I once picked up Peter Stringfellow and his wife and their newborn baby outside Mothercare in Oxford Street, took them home. I thought that was such a touching domestic scene to be involved with Peter Stringfellow of all people. I kind of felt like I've really arrived as a taxi driver having done something like that.
Okay.
I've had Pete Doherty from the famously outrageous rock star.
How much longer will you do it, Ian?
I'm not sure. I'm glad that I've done 10 years. As I get older, I find it more tiring than I used to. Because of the other work that I do, music and writing, that sort of comes and goes. If I had more of that work, I would obviously drive the cab less. If I had less, I would drive the cab more. But it's nice to think that so long as I've got a cab and I'm in London, I would keep it. I'd like to think even if by some miracle I ended up on top of the pops next week and selling millions of albums, I'd probably keep my licence on and just take the cab out every now and then just for fun.
Why don't we give you a plug now, Ian? Why don't you sing me something as we go around this square? Go on then.
Oh, I walked right into that, didn't I?
Yeah, go on.
Well, I wrote a song called Over the Westway, which is about my favourite flyover, the Westway, the A40. And we actually filmed a music video for that in my cab with me singing in the front and various shots of the band in the back. So I suppose I could give you the opening bells of that, couldn't I? That would be appropriate.
Go on.
Sunset in April on the Westway, up in a sky of pink and blue and grey, with you so small and far below me. That do.
That's brilliant. Your ode to your favourite flyover, the Westway. Brilliant stuff, Ian.
This is like being you in one of your programmes now.
It's parody beyond even being me.